Good day, everyone, and welcome to today's call, the Bobby DeBarge Story Media Teleconference. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Later, you will have the opportunity to ask questions during the question and answer session, and you may register to ask a question at any time by pressing the star and 1 on your touch-tone phone. Please note this call may be recorded. It is now my pleasure to turn today's program over to Ms. Tasha Witten-Griggs. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Priscilla, and thanks to each member of our audience today who is taking the time out to participate. TV One could not be more thrilled to introduce you to this very special project. In honor of Black Music Month, we will be debuting the Bobby DeBarge Story. And we're here today to share more information about the project, to give you an opportunity to hear from our amazing cast and creative team who embodied these bold characters and told this really critical story that for the first time in a feature film is really being delved into. This is an iconic musical legacy, and we just couldn't be more thrilled to be the ones to bring this story to you. The movie will premiere on Saturday, June 29th at 8 p.m. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to our amazing cast and crew that's joined us on the call today. We're going to start with our star who really put himself into this role and became Bobby DeBarge to tell this story. Roshan Fagan. Roshan.
Hey.
Roshan, do you want to just, share some of your thoughts about, playing this role, embodying this character, and working with us to weave this story in your first major lead role in a film?
Absolutely. Well, this was quite an experience. And definitely something that's going to go down in history, especially in my books. I was honored enough to have, a great team and great cast and crew and everybody involved, TV One and Swirl and everybody that did their thing in this, really bring it to life. This is definitely my first in-depth role like this. I had a quick in and out on Greenleaf where I played a bad boy, but this is a little more in depth when it comes to an actual story that happened, and it is new to me. It's a new one, so I had to dive in and really get to know Bobby and figure out what he was feeling and what he was thinking, and figure out my best way to portray it by being as genuine as possible. So it was super exciting.
Thank you, Roshan. We are thrilled to have been able to pull off this casting feat. In the role of the legendary and iconic Berry Gordy, we pulled out all the stops, and Big Boy, who embodied this role, is here with us today to talk about it. Big Boy, let us hear from you.
Yes. It was a great experience. To kind of step in the shoes of Berry Gordy was kind of like a natural progression, being in music and coming up under the likes of L.A. Reid and, LaFace being like the Motown of the South, and kind of watching him and knowing, what Berry Gordy put into the game, and me, myself, running the label, I just had to, kind of turn the charm on, man, and just, kind of put myself there, and it was great, watching Roshan do Bobby. It was powerful, and I'm glad this world and TV One, called upon me, to fill those shoes. I had a good time.
And thank you for doing so. We're also super excited to introduce Ira Farrell, such an amazingly gifted actor who has, an amazing track record in the industry. We're really blessed to get her to play the role of Ederline DeBarge. Tyra, can you talk a little bit about that?
I was very excited in playing this role, and I wanted to be very careful and not to judge Ederling. I think so many people underestimate the difficulty of being a mother, and so to have 10 children, one after the other, year after year, just had to bring so much stress and dysfunction in a home. And so I'm willing and ready to talk about that and just to try to show her in the best light possible under such horrific circumstances, but yet such a genius of a family. What is remarkable is that one family could contain so much talent, and while possessing the power of that as Motherling, Ederling was more than just a housewife, and we can talk about that later.
Okay, thank you, Tyra. We are also happy to introduce today a member of the TV One family who's worked with us on a number of projects and is back with us as Tommy DeBarge, Mr. Blue Kimball.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Beyond honored to represent again for this project and to bring the DeBarge story to life with my family and my co-stars. Like I said, we put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to honor the DeBarge story and their legacy, and we just can't wait for you guys to see the magic that we've put together.
Thank you, Blue. And also playing James DeBarge is Adrian Marcel, another artist, which is amazing that we have such a talented group of singers and performers and actors that have come together to tell this story. But Adrian, let's hear from you about embodying James DeBarge.
How you doing? This is Adrian Marcel. It was a dope experience for me, being that this was my first shot at really, showing some of my acting chops, and being able to be a part of something with TV One, the network that I've grown up on and watched, all the time and all their shows and swirls, all their movies and stuff. It was like, it was already exciting, and it already kind of put me on a certain focus. So, when I got the part of James, it was almost like having to find those past emotions and things that I've been through to kind of relate and get into his shoes, and to add my thoughts to that their family and their legacy. I think that my first movie being playing another artist and in the music scene, I think that it's just something that just shows I'm just very blessed to be a part of it, and this is it was meant, and I think that everybody's going to see everybody's talent, the entire cast and crew, and the work that they put in. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Adrian. And then last but not least, rounding out our cast represented on the call today is Lloyd, who played Gregory Williams, founder of the group Switch.
Hey, what's up? This is Lloyd. Sorry to cut you off, ma'am. I'm excited. I think that I will be riding the biggest wave of out-of-body experience for this. This is like Adrian aside, my first acting experience. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of nerves. And this, I think, they serve as like a scout report for me. I've never been on stand before like this, so I don't know if it's something that I should pursue or could pursue, and that's really like the exciting part of it for me, is to actually be able to maybe see myself on screen for the first time and answer the question of, can I do this, and is it for me? Also, a lot of very memorable experiences on the set with this amazing cast, and working with Swirl for my second time, first time being a play. This was a bit like being home, but also unlike anything I've ever done. So I'm excited about that, and really honored to be able to portray a legend, a real unspoken legend, someone who I learned about playing the role of, and now have a tremendous amount of respect for. Also, just learning from these guys, and man, this has been fun. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Lloyd. This incredible cast was led and directed by, Russ Parr, who, has done, such prolific work in his career. Most people may know him for another job that he does that we're not going to talk about right now, but Russ is an amazing director and has directed a number of films for TV One, as well as, just independent films. And so we picked the perfect person with his musical legacy and background in the space to really take the helm of this production. Russ, can you just talk a little bit about the process of pulling this cast together to become a family on film and to tell, a really complex and challenging story?
Yeah, basically, I have to say that I'm totally responsible for everybody's performance. Most of these people had limited experience, and it was a struggle every day. I think the only person that I really had to work with was Ira, because Ira knew what she was doing. All these other guys were pretty much lost. And I just found the tutelage and, the hard work that I put in every single day to just drag a performance out of these weak actors has just really, just made me feel like I've accomplished something. But seriously, though, I have to say that I'm very happy to be part of this project because besides from Tyra, there's a lot of young, fresh faces. We tend to do movies and we see the same people all the time. And it was really great to get, some raw acts and see it all come together. I really wanted to do this movie because I went to college in Cal State Northridge, and like every Saturday and Sunday we used to go play basketball in Sepulveda Park, and Switch would be there playing. Now at the time I didn't know all those little dudes was the DeBarges. I knew Philip, but we'd have some serious basketball games, and I got to know Philip a little bit. But it was just kind of interesting that I kind of lived around the corner from these guys. I said, you know what, I really want to be part of that. And having done radio in Los Angeles, some years ago, I was able to, play the records for the first time. So I have a little background with them. But other than that, working with these actors, I was just all kidding. These people were phenomenal. And Rashawn set the tone, and everybody just kind of like, boom, carried it.
Thank you, Russ. And thank you. Such a heavy lift. I know that was a heavy lift for you.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, well,
we're going to go next to our producers with Swirl Productions. We have a really amazing partnership with Swirl. We've done some of our biggest movies in the history of the network have been done as part of this collaboration between Swirl and TV One. And James Sepulfrick is representing the producers today, and he was the lead producer in the project, I believe, and was most intimately involved. And so, James, talk to us a little bit about trying to create this moment in time, that Switch and the DeBarge family were on the scene. We had to go back in time in order to, tell this story, which is never easy. So talk a little bit about the process of just putting the logistics together.
Yeah, and at first I'd like to, echo everything else everybody's saying. I mean, there was a great energy on set to start with, and even from the beginning in pre-production, there was a great energy. It's always difficult, as everybody probably on this call knows. There are a lot of unique personalities in the family. There are a lot of stories to be told, and I think the toughest part was what to tell and, what to leave up to other people to tell. And, Russ had to go through a really deep process with the writer. Norman, I'm sure, before we even got a hold of the project, had to do a lot, taking a lot from Ederlene's book and a lot of the licensed pieces that we have, and then obviously doing all the public research and information of stuff that's already out there through interviews and deciphering through conversation with people what is real and what is not real. Russ got on the phone with Terry, Bobby's wife, and had a very detailed conversation about telling the story. And those were I think the challenging moments in the beginning for just what can make, this 84-minute television movie and what are we going to have to miss. And I think that was the tough part of the logistics. Outside of that, I think taking it back, going back in time, our wardrobe department did an amazing job. I think we, along with Russ, found and put together the right locations and this budget range. I always tell people, the locations, as it is a character in every film, we sometimes have to find what works. And I think everything that we did came out extremely beautiful as far as, our DP, Jeff Bowman, and Ross putting together the right shot locations and being able to make sure we went back to this multiple time periods, because it's not just set in one particular year. It's set across, a ton of years. So I think we did a great job with that. But those are all good pieces when it comes to clothes and wardrobe. You're always trying to find the right vehicles, trying to make sure you're not catching, the wrong light switches. I mean, there's things that happen, but you don't realize how difficult that is until you get into some of these places and try to find older stuff. So those were the only challenges. Outside of that, I feel like once we had that script finalized and we kind of agreed of what kind of story we were going to tell, and limiting ourselves to the rise and fall, or more the fall, and the struggles that Bobby had and the demons that he had to deal with, that we want to have it as a cautionary tale. So whether it's a music artist or just somebody struggling with any sort of substance abuse or family abuse, I think it's an important story to tell, and I think we captured the important moments we needed to tell that story. The team, proud of everybody involved, and look forward to everybody being able to see it.
Thank you, James. And that's a perfect segue to our executive in charge of production, Karen Peterkin, who was responsible for that juggling act of pulling all of these pieces together, overseeing the execution, and making sure the outcome is what it needed to be. Karen is so gifted as a scripted development executive and producer. And so we want to go to Karen to kind of talk about and give a little more insight into the story that we're telling and how we decided to tell it, to kind of set the stage for the next part of our media teleconference. So Karen, can you just talk a little bit about that part of the process and basically what people can expect with this movie, the story that we will be telling on June 29th?
Okay. Thanks, Tasha, and thank you for those very kind words. Good morning, afternoon to everyone, and thank you for joining us. Let's see. The Bobby DeBarge Story is the quintessential story of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I think that's the best way to describe it. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Bobby DeBarge, he's the oldest of the world-famous DeBarge family. And he was also a member of the 80s R&B group Switch. He wrote many of Switch's hit songs. He wrote many of DeBarge's hit songs. And Bobby is also a falsetto genius, if you will. Bobby struggled with many demons in his life. He experienced a lot of abuse as a child, and it manifested itself in substance abuse, among other things, as an adult. So this is a very dark story, but we wanted to be sure that we told the truth and made it more of a cautionary tale. Bobby changed the music landscape for decades to come, and this is an untold story that we're proud to present to the world. And if I could just jump in and just go back a little bit, Lloyd, you said you're wondering if you can pursue this. You should absolutely pursue acting. You did an incredible job, and I saw all of you grow as you were working in your roles.
Hey, thanks, Karen. I still wonder, what am I doing here, though?
So cool. And our participants have had an opportunity to see some scenes for the film that I'm sure will dispute everything you just said, Lloyd, about whether or not you think, because those performances are truly, truly powerful. And with that, great recap. We're going to move on to the Q&A section of our conference call. I'm going to kick it off with just a couple of questions, but then we're going to go to the line. So I'll start by asking Roshan to just talk a little bit. You mentioned in your earlier statement that this is a unique character for you in a different kind of role. And, I'm not certain if you've ever played an actual person before, that you had to emulate an actual living, breathing, historical figure. Talk about your preparation for playing that kind of role. And were you even a fan of their music before you got this project?
Oh, yes. Yeah, this is brand new to me. Absolutely. Playing an actual person is a lot. There's a lot more. There's a lot more you have to put into it, and it's way deeper than just coming up with stuff, For me, I had to really, really get my research together. Thankfully, I'm born and raised in a family of music-heavy people. They love music. I've always played the oldies and played Motown, and a lot of DeBarge music playing, and Switch has been rolling through the house since I was young. So that was a good thing. I was a fan. But I did not know the story. I did not know specifically Bobby's his involvement as what he brought to the table as a songwriter and producer, and just genius overall. So yeah, I've never played a role this deep for sure, and it did take a lot of prep. I felt that watching him perform on stage on YouTube all day, I looked at every video I could, and I tried to find stuff that wasn't even easy to find. I was digging deep, and I saw a lot of times where you could see a lot of the pain and a lot of the stress he was going through, even through his performances. Even though he was so graceful, there was other things he was saying, and just so totally in love with his music. But no, I knew something else was going on. So with that being said, I just kind of listened to the music, put myself in his shoes, and really just did my best to portray this. It was my first time for sure.
Thank you, Roshan. Big boy, very gorgeous, one of the biggest icons in the game. You talked a little bit about being a label head yourself. But just tell us a little bit about, how did you get into his character? And, you're not new to the acting game. We've seen you in numerous roles and, always kind of taking on, a different persona in those roles. How was this for you, playing a real person who, will see this performance?
It was definitely an honor, first and foremost. But at the same time, it was a bit kind of challenging to kind of balance the gangster and the charm without giving away too much of the gangster. So I had to kind of, lighten up a little bit. He wasn't a bad guy. He was definitely, a stern-handed, talented producer and mogul that, had an ear for talent. So, I kind of put myself in the shoes of just, discovery and, seeing that, all the groups that he put on and, all the things he had to deal with families and just discovering talent and having to cut people off. So, it was a bit of not bad guy, but nice bad guy. You know what I mean? And I like playing the bad guy, so I might have turned him up a little bit.
All right. Tyra, you mentioned really trying to, be sensitive to Ederlene's plight and how you, played her character and how you delivered that role. Talk about how difficult it was to step into the role of the matriarch of this family that had such a public rise to stardom and also fall from grace.
Well, it was very difficult for me on some level but being an artist, I'm very empathetic. So a lot of things, like even when I did Boys in the Hood, I was not had never experienced being a mother of teenage boys. But I always say that Meryl Streep didn't have to experience the Holocaust to understand Sophie's Choice. As an actor, we have to do our research and go deep. So when I was very careful and not to judge Ederlene in preparation for this role. I mean, I took the time to read Ederlene's book, The Other Side of Pain, and I had an opportunity to read a different script before I was offered this script, and it was a little more salacious in terms of the abuse. And my sense of her decision making is that she was seeking refuge in the church, and the children found refuge in the music. And all the time, while their father found satisfaction in abusing them all physically and mentally. And I also found and studied and seeing her being a blonde back in that day, it was sort of a sad thing in the script that she blamed herself for being a black woman for her husband's pain and abuse. So that helped me a lot, and for the abuse of her and the kids. And making excuses for him, in my opinion, was the only love she knew. But that was a different day and time, and we understand the cycle and pattern of abused women differently now than we did 30 years ago. But like I said earlier, what is remarkable is that one family could contain so much talent. And while possessing the power of a mother, Ederlene was more than just a housewife. To me, she was like a manager, a coach, and an artist in her own right. I mean, the apples don't fall far from the tree. She was very talented. But like Joe Jackson, she had her own problems. And in spite of everything we suffer as an artist, there is something about the power of pain and its relationship to the art that is created. And so these young men the Jacksons and Prince were not the only voices. The DeBarge was right there alongside of them. And I just wanted to thank TV One and commend them and Swirl on telling this important story, because people will be watching because of the music and the history of our community. Like Marvin Gaye was at a time, and James Brown was at a time, and the Jacksons, and we've been locked out as a community of people in society, and the music is what connects us all emotionally, and the whole entire human race. So I understood that if you have 10 kids, year after year after year, there is a high likelihood that she had been suffering from postpartum depression for many, many years. It's something that happens to women after they give birth, and we understand different things differently now, but our expectations of women shape how we view them. And I know I only had one child, and I literally couldn't focus in my work because the thought of her needing me, so I just shut it down until she was old enough. The foundation was built. I knew I wouldn't let her spend the night. I wouldn't let her go to school until she could come home and tell me how her day was. But when you have 10 children and you're trusting your other half to take care of them, and there's secrets and demons going on, I mean, it really touched me, and I think this movie is so important around the Me Too molestation with the Catholic priest. What I want to say is that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Children should speak out. They should talk. And I just think Ederlene was caught up in an abusive situation that the only love she knew was the love that she was given by her husband, and there was no out. So, I mean, I look at her, I was very careful not to judge her. I was really careful not to judge her. And so I had to understand her in a way to portray her. And the script was, the reason why I really took the script was, first of all, it was an offer, and I love offers. I mean, when people offer you something and you can relate to it, it just means they understand your craft and who you are, and it's not a struggle. But the dialogue was very clear, and it read like a novel to me in terms of my role. And I wasn't very familiar with Switch or the DeBarge. I knew of their music, but I was a woman who was single in my career looking for love. So I was listening to like Phyllis Hyman, Anita Baker, but I do recognize their brilliance. And also when I got the role, I started to dig deep, and I could certainly appreciate it. And what I'm grateful for is that TV, we have to tell our own stories. There are so many stories that are unsung, and I'm really, and I just have to say God is really good to me to allow me to portray a role like this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ira. Thank you so much for that. And next we want to go to Blue. Now, Blue, talk to us about maybe some of the most memorable moments on set during filming. What really resonated with you as an actor who was a part of this cast and this production? Briefly.
Oh, definitely. Like I said, big shout out to TV One. Huge shout out to my family, Swirl Films, who I've worked with previously both. And one thing about both networks and productions, they always make sure that the set environment is going to be like a family. And that was big and key within this production because the bond had to be real. You understand what I'm saying? I had to embody LaShawn as my brother before I can make him my brother as Bobby, the same as Adrian, Marcel. The family bond, the whole production was it was real. So that's why we were able to portray it on camera to make it seem, feel, and look real to the viewers when they see this story. And that was a big thing for us because this story hadn't been told to so many people who don't know about Bobby DeBarge, who don't know about the DeBarge story, Switch, or their legacy at all. So that was a burden that we wanted to make sure that we covered. And it was that. We came to work every day with a smile from ear to ear because it wasn't work. It was fun. It didn't matter if we was doing 12 hours, 20-hour days. It didn't matter. We weren't trying to yell cut and leave set. Everybody was there enjoying it. When I was done for the day, I didn't leave. I stayed. Adrian stayed. Rashawn,
right.
Even on his days off, we stayed because we were having that much fun. You understand what I'm saying? Walking around in the wardrobe, embodying these characters, wearing the hair, the wig, all became real. Became reality for us. You know what I'm saying? We all became who we were, and we made it our justice to do that because we have to honor this family. We have to honor the story. We have to honor their fans. When they see this, they need to know that it's real because if it's not, they're going to let us know. But I, for one, and all of us will and can say that we are sure that they are going to be proud of what we put together. So like I said, this whole set, this whole experience was one of the best of my career. And I've been blessed to work on a lot of great sets. But this one, this DeBarge Story, Swirl, TV One, this will definitely go down in history, like I said. And I'm grateful. I speak on behalf of all my brothers. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Blue. And Adrian, you're a singer, and this is Black Music Month. Talk about why you think Bobby DeBarge's music transcends generations and is still popular today among younger artists like yourself. What inspiration did you draw as a member of this cast from having that musical experience on this project?
Well, number one, to answer your question, I think that it still holds so much power today with even my generation and younger than me, because it was real. Everybody goes through, their levels of pain, and the pain that Bobby and the DeBarge family and the DeBarge children went through. I mean, of course it was maybe a next level, but they drew passion from that pain, and I think that Miss Tyra spoke on it. Something about that pain, and the relationship of that with everyone. It hits people. So the passion just pierced through the music. Through all of it, he was number one, a musical genius. I mean, a falsetto master. To all degrees. And they were doing him and Switch, and even before DeBarge Switch, they were doing things that just weren't being done. They were, maybe Blue said it best, they were having fun, and that, I think that seeped through the music, and to my generation younger and to more generations to come, I think that it's going to still, stand the test of time, because that's just what good music does. And as an artist myself, that's all we dream of. That's all we hope for, is that our music can live past us and live past our kids and touch generations that we'll never know. And I think being a part of this, this DeBarge Story with TV One and Swirl Films, and being blessed for them to believe in me, to take on the role of James like that. I think that it took a certain level of prep, and I think it was I was perfect for it, to come from the musical background, and to be an artist myself, pushing my music and pushing things like that in my career. It was easy for me to settle in, and it was even more easier to do it with a cast that I think is just so kind of like poised at their jobs. Russ Parr has his directing skills, and everyone, the whole crew, period. I think it just made it easy for us all to dive right into the characters and to pull from our own experiences, whether it was musical backgrounds or not. It just was very simple, because this was such a relatable story to a lot of people, even though it may be a little dark and very dark and very deep. Again, like I said, just that pain is going to be, I think, the factor of why everybody will be able to dive in and pull some sort of, real feeling from this.
Right. Thank you so much, Adrian. And finally, we're gonna go to Lloyd. Lloyd, you mentioned this being your first, major opportunity to, to play a role in a film, and this was a dark subject. This was, this content, as everyone has noted, kind of has a lot of pain and just strong emotion connected to it. How was that like for you in your first, acting opportunity to go in that deep and then to be able to step back into your own world?
Well, the question is, did I go in that deep? I mean, again, I still feel so out of body that I'm not sure that I did capture exactly what it's like to pull off a role like this, but you just try to draw from your own life. It definitely helps working with people like Roshan and Blue, Matt, who's not on with us, but also I shared some scenes with, was very helpful. Russ really said it best. I mean, he coached me like pretty much through a lot of it, especially in the beginning, and having that faith in them was a big part of it. But really, I guess getting to a place where I could just let go and just, rely on a bit of instinct, a bit of personal pain maybe, and just also draw from the environment that Roshan was kind of setting for me. I mean, following behind him, the way he portrays Bobby is really so, I would say, extreme for someone like me who's never acted. I mean, Bobby was an extreme personality, so the way Roshan was kind of being extreme in his in his performance, it kind of left me only an area where I could never be that intense. I mean, I don't think it gets more intense. Greg, the guy I play, Greg, I don't think he was as intense as Bobby, and that was probably the problem. One of the problems between them was, hey, this guy he's way off the chain, and you're gonna mess our shit up. So they had a little friction. I think Russ was definitely there because he, like he told you, he has the most personal connection to the family and to these guys. So he was really like there to actually tell me what the fuck Greg was like in real life. And I took on the role of Greg at the very last minute, surprisingly. I actually read for another part. I read for the part of Bobby DeBarge and of Tommy DeBarge, and I was gifted this role. I think because of the faith that Swirl, Eric, James, Keith, also that me and Russ working together in the past, him put me on my first music tours through his radio show and tour. I think really their faith in me is what gave me and gifted me this role. And then once I got it, I just tried to run with it. And then, I'm like the big fan of this group. I mean, I really should be a part of the press packet and ask these dudes questions because I'm learning so much just listening. I got like a whole notepad of questions I've been wanting to ask Big Boy since the day I first heard his songs in middle school. So I'm like the big fan of everyone. I know about Roshan as an actor, and I also know about his father as an actor. Like he said, he come from this. And so to be able to share that space with him was dope for me. And Lou is like the brother I never knew. However, I will say it was definitely dope to have to play someone who a lot of people don't know about, especially in my era. I didn't know about, and the DeBarges was a huge part of my family. I mean, big part of their music was a big part of the soundtrack of my life. So it was a big honor on that front as well.
Thank you so much, Lloyd. And with that said,
sure.
I delay another moment before we go to the line, allow some of our press people to ask questions. So, operator, on how to get in queue, we'll begin the queue.
Certainly at this time, if you would like to ask a question, please press the star and 1 on your touch-tone telephone. You may withdraw your question at any time by pressing the pound key. Once again, to ask a question, please press the star and 1 on your touch-tone phone.
And let us go ahead and take the first question, please. We will take the first question from Nye McGee, EUR Web.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you.
Hello? Okay, perfect. I just wanted to be sure. Thank you for taking my question. My question is for Roshan. You may have already kind of touched on this, but if you wouldn't mind, because I think I may have missed it if you did, talk a little bit about the challenges of bringing Bobby DeBarge to life. I guess I'm really curious to know, because you guys have spoken about, their troubled childhood with the abuse, and you really taking your emotions to a level that stunned your other castmates. So I'm wondering, did you find it challenging at all to shake Bobby DeBarge at the end of the film? Shoot, how challenging was it for you to shed his skin and kind of come back into your own? And I'm wondering if you could tie into that, did you find this role transformative in any way?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was born and raised in the game since I was a youngster, and I've always had the ability to kind of mold, transform into different attitudes and energies, and know how to snap back into, my own energy and mind state. My pop's been in the game for, all his life, and it transcended over to me, being just taught how to, just be in control. And no matter what, give your all to whatever you're doing, but know who you are at the end of the day. So when this role came up, I did find it really, really intricate and really detailed, where I knew I had to get much more in depth and deeper than I ever have. And I did have to embody the spirit and the mind state of everything he was possibly going through at the time, and all his emotions with his family and his music. And I love music. I'm an artist as well. I'm a producer, and I know what it feels like to be completely in love with your music and wanting to be in control of it, but at the same time dealing with personal problems and family problems and issues. So it definitely was something that when I got so far in to becoming Bobby DeBarge, if I could say that, I did have to remind myself at some point that I'm acting. And that this is important for me to get it right because of his family and his fans, but not to get so right where I can't shake it off, you know. So when I got into the role, and shout out to Russ Parr, that's the man. He really knows how to deal with something like this and really execute a film like this, a biopic, and get what he needs without making it the energy in the set and the room too dark, too deep. He's really good at that. So he really helped me be able to keep the fun and get the job done at the same time. I did not have a problem shaking it off because I think I'm crazy. I think I just had a really, really good time playing the role, honestly, giving my all. And then when they say cut, I don't know what it is. I just start laughing and acting a fool. We all did. I think I got some problems. I just be screaming and laughing for no reason. So it was just a good time on set where we really wanted to get the job done perfectly. And when we got what we needed, it was a celebration afterwards. So it wasn't too dark, you know what I mean?
Right on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nye. We'll take the next question from Cynthia Horner at Right On.
Hi, everyone. I just want to start by saying that Right On Magazine is the publication that gave Switch and DeBarge most of the coverage that they ever received. So therefore, I know all of the DeBarges and Switch, Gregory Williams, Gary Gordy, etc. So I just want to ask, I know that most of you did not have an opportunity to meet any of the actual celebrities that you're portraying in the film, but what challenges did you have in terms of the fact that at the time that Switch and DeBarge were out, there was not a lot of video to work with? They had limited television opportunities for R&B artists at that time. So how did you guys work with the different performance scenes? Anyone's free to answer that question. Anyone who'd like to?
This is Lloyd. I know that.
Hi,
how you
Lloyd.
Doing? Hey, you gave me my first covers too. Hey, I know that a lot of the footage that we researched was, actually from YouTube, and from what we could find, we found a few very quality performances from, I think American Bandstand, was it? And maybe Soul Train. I think we found something from Soul Train.
Right.
However, like you said, it definitely wasn't a lot, and it definitely wasn't HD. So I think we just tried to mimic some of the motions that we could find to the best of our ability. But again, I mean, it definitely helps when you have a lifeline and a guide like Russ, who actually knew these guys, supported them through his own endeavors. So he knew them personally, and at least for me, that helped. And then, I play music, so I just try to act like it was me, living at Greg, maybe, It definitely, I wish I could have spoken like Greg.
Okay, that's a great answer.
Yeah. Thanks, Lloyd. We're losing you a little bit. Did you want to hear from anyone else, Cynthia?
if anybody
Also
else
to say,
has a comment
yeah,
to make, I would be happy to hear
this
it.
is Blue Kimball. To segue off of what Lloyd was saying, like he said, everything was based, like you said, Russ was there, our amazing director who actually had interactions with him, but we also had a great set coordinator. And then forgive me because I'm having a brain fart. I'm forgetting his name at the moment. But he worked with Switch and DeBarge, and he knew them as well. So he was able to tell us about our movements and what we needed to do during our performances. You know what I'm saying? Bobby would be moving like this. Tommy would be playing the guitar, the bass like this, and Greg always had his hat. You know what I mean? He was there to make sure that we were on point. To make sure that we were on.
Yes.
Spot on. You know what I mean? And majority of the guys have musical backgrounds. Amazing talent, and Rashawn and Adrian Marcel. I myself have zero musical talent. I don't sing at all, etc.
Yeah.
So it was dire. Right. It was dire for me to have, Russ and him on board and everybody else, to make me look all the way official. And when you see, the musical portraying,
you are great.
It actually looks like I'm really up there getting busy and strumming the bass. So, like I said, we made sure everything was official within this project.
Thank you.
I think
Thank you, and Lloyd. Anybody else want to jump on that before we move on?
This is Adrian Marcel. I just wanted to, give a shout out to Norman Vance because, I think that even past the performances that we didn't get a lot of to look at, we also didn't get to, lock in with those people individually and to really see anything that was, personal about them. So even throughout the whole film itself, I think that the words and I think that, the cast, the talent of the cast, we were just able to take those words of just a well-written script that would draw the emotion out of you just kind of reading it. So, I don't want it to go without really giving them a shout because I think that's what made it a little easier for us to dive right in. And on top of that, just to attest how, talented everybody was.
Thank you, Adrian. And anything else, Cynthia?
Tasha, it's Karen. If I could just jump in. So the gentleman that Blue was speaking about was Melvin, and I can't remember Mel's last name, James or Keith, but he's talking about Mel who worked with.
It's Melvin Jones. Melvin.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Cynthia, was there anything else?
Thank you for cleaning me up, Karen. I appreciate that.
That's what we do.
Tasha, that was great. You can go on to the next question, so I'm not taking up too much of anyone's time.
Thank you, Cynthia. We can
Great to
circle
hear
back.
from you, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, we'll take the next question from Waddy Grant at G-Listed.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. First, I know this is going to be a great watch, and a lot of questions I had prepared have been asked. So, thank you for asking and addressing those. So the only question I have left would be for Ms. Karen. So, like I said, the DeBarge Story is really poised to be great. I saw some of the clips you guys provided, and I'm excited. There's been talks for a lot of the entire family, or at least the siblings, having a biopic on TV One. Is that still in the works, or will that tie into the Bobby DeBarge story?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question? And thank you for asking it. My phone went out for a second.
Certainly. Again, the Bobby DeBarge story really seems like it's going to be a great watch. Thank you for sharing some of the exclusive clips. I got to watch them this morning. So I wanted to know, because of, years of talk about a DeBarge story being on TV One coming up, the siblings especially Is there one in the works, and will that tie into the Bobby DeBarge story or so?
Well, that's a great question. As of now, there is not one in the works. A few years back, we were considering doing one and decided to instead do the Bobby DeBarge story.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We'll take the next question from Rich McCain.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we
can
hear
Hello?
you.
Okay, great. First of all, I'd like to say hi to Tasha, and thank you so much for keeping me in the loop. And I also would like to say hi to Cynthia, who I keep telling her I want to read her book because this lady is a walking encyclopedia when it comes to the 70s and 80s. And my question is, what happened to James DeBarge? Where is he now? How did he react to the success of his children? And Ederline has a video on YouTube where she says she didn't like the story. And she's telling people to read her book to get the real thing. And it's hard to do these kinds of movies because when it comes to families, this is almost impossible to please. Elton John was very pleased with his new movie, Rocket Man, but the Ruffin family was upset with the Temptations movie. So I just wanted to know what happened to James and what was his reaction and where is he now?
Okay, hey, let me just jump in really quickly here. Rich, thank you for your question. We don't deal with in the movie where they are now. It's not part of the narrative of this story that we're telling. This is a period piece that really talks, centers around Bobby, and that really talks about the family's trajectory through the lens of his story and his experience. That's number one. Do you want to speak, Russ, on or Karen, on the source material for this particular project? And this was also done, Rich, in collaboration with Bobby's widow, who you can see from our materials is an executive producer on the project, Terry DeBarge. That is the filter through which this story is told. The family was not a part of the production outside of that. But Russ and Karen, did you want to take this? We'll start with Russ and then go to you, Karen.
We'll start with Karen first, and then I'll jump in.
Okay, we'll start with Karen and back up with Russ. Okay.
Okay. Yes, Tasha. The source material is Ederline's book, The Other Side of the Pain. And I'm sorry, what was your question again?
The rest of his question was just about the family support, and we didn't do this in conjunction with the family, Rich.
Right.
Was there any other part of that question still needed to be addressed?
Not really, but I just wanted to know what happened to the dad. I mean, his presence or the effect of what he did was all throughout the movie, and that's why I wanted to know where he was or how he reacted to his children becoming that famous.
Robert DeBarge isn't he?
Is dead. Robert DeBarge is dead. Yeah. You said James DeBarge, which threw us all a bit. Robert DeBarge is dead. He died. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's been dead for quite some time.
Thank you. We're going to take the next question from Phyllis Thomas at TV Music Network.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for doing the call. I have a question for Karen and James. How much of the catalog will we be seeing? Did you have access to all of the music? And there's such a wealth of musical material. Which did you put in and which didn't you get a chance to put into the script?
I'll let James answer that.
Yeah, I'll start with that. So we really tried to, obviously, we have financial constraints in the budget that we have. So yes, we had access to the music, and the choice selections were "I Call Your Name" by Switch. and I Like It by DeBarge. The song that they sing to Berry Gordy to showcase their talents is an original song that we created because the songs that they did in that showcase aren't songs that were ever released. So those are the two main focal points of the songs. We flirted with using Dance the Night Away, and we're still kind of figuring that part out. But our big performance pieces are I Call Your Name and I Like It. So one Switch song, one DeBarge song that were two turning points of the film. One kind of opens the film and gets us going, and then one is the upturn of the DeBarge family versus the downturn of Bobby. So those were the two elements that we used. But we had access to a bunch. I just can't say that we could have afforded a whole lot more than that. So it really came down to economics as to what we had access to.
Thank you so much for that question. Oh, was it more answer, Karen?
Oh, sorry. I just had a follow-up on it only because of the original song. How was that song shaped to sound like the era of the time and to sound, like Bobby DeBarge, to sound like DeBarge?
Well, yeah, and it's very difficult. I mean, it's one of the person who actually plays L is a singer, and his name is Bruno Rose, and he came apart. We have a producer who we work with named Dante Wyatt, and he was able to produce. They just kind of collaborated and worked together to make a song that we believe fit the period and the time, and I think they did a great job. We'll obviously hear about it as people get to hear it, but we believe they put together a song that really fits for the scene and fits the moment of the rise of Elle and the DeBarge family.
Thank you.
We'll take the next question, please. Thank you. From Anderson of Famous Chelsea. Go ahead with your question, please. I'm sorry. Go ahead with your question. Your line is open. Okay. We'll take the next question from Tanai Staley.
Hi. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I just have a quick question with it being, 3 artists on the call, have Adrian, Big Boy, Lloyd. Do these type of films, and especially being a part of the film, does this give you more of like an appreciation and respect for the music scene? And what impact do you think movies and these stories that are being told, do you think they will have an impact on the future music and current scene?
Let's have Big Boy take that, if you will. Big Boy, can you grab that one?
Yeah, I definitely think that the effect that it has, you've seen it before, it's a cautionary tale, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You just got to watch how you move. And at the same time, it gave me a whole new respect for Bobby DeBarge. Everybody knows Elle and Chico. And, Bobby started the whole thing, with the songwriting, the falsetto. And for him to kind of spark that legacy and get trapped into the pitfalls of this industry, you got to be careful what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You can either go all the way or you can go all the way down. So, I think they can take heed of that. There's a lot of drugs in music right now. It's a lot of drugs. You don't know who the junkie and who the dealer is.
That's true. Thank you.
Thank you so much for saying. Let's see. Let's take our next question from Simon Applebaum at Tomorrow Will Be Televised.
Yes, hi everyone. And for those who don't know, Tomorrow Will Be Televised is the program all about television. We're on Mondays and Fridays at 3 o'clock on Blog Talk Radio and also on the iHeartRadio Podcast Network. And Russ has been on our show a number of times with some of the films he's done. And I got 2 questions. Karen, stand by. I got one for you. But first, Russ, because our writer, Norman Vance Jr., is not here, how did you two connect to make the film?
Are you talking about with the writer?
Yes, with Norman Vance.
I didn't really. I think I had one conversation with Norman, He was in on the earlier drafts of the script, and I basically punched it up, what they require, the direct, just a basic director's punch. So this was a project that TV One, I think they were trying to put together for a couple of years, and things were going on the back burner and so on and so forth. And so this script has been going around for a while, and we just kind of got together and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to focus on Bobby, and that's where my punch-up came in. And other than that, I didn't really collaborate with Norman at all, but I think he did a fantastic job on the script that I had to work with.
Mm-hmm. And Karen, speaking of TV One, again this year, unfortunately, there was no press upfront event here in New York. So for a lot of people in the press, they might not know what plans TV One has in terms of this upcoming season, which, by the way, is your 15th. You're in your 15th year now, by the way, as a network, launching in January of 2004. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to say where TV One is going this coming season, 2019-2020. You're going to be trying some new directions in original programming. Are you going to expand what you do now with made-for-TV movies and unscripted series? Where is the network going?
Hey, Simon, this is Tasha. This is not a call to talk about the future programming direction of the network, although thank you for the question. If you do have a question specific to the Bobby DeBarge story, though, we're happy to answer those.
Well, that was it, the one for Russ. But I did want to give Karen an opportunity if she wanted to elaborate on what's coming up. But I totally understand. All right, Tasha, thanks very much, and good luck, everybody. And we'd love to have, by the way, Russ, to have you on the show and Norman on the show as well later on this month.
We'll definitely circle back with you to schedule that, Simon. Thank you so much for your question.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thank you. We're going to take the next question, please, from Our Generation TV.
Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. My question is, what is the main message that you all want your viewers to get from this movie? And anyone can answer that.
I would like to answer that if I could.
Okay.
This is Russ. I think
Russ.
For me, the message that I hope that everybody gets from this is that we're all products of our childhood, and we watched a person that persevered through so many demons in order to present such iconic music for the rest of us. But the main message is for people, and especially children, that are in a compromising situation with adults, that they have a voice, and that voice will be heard. And I hope that this message is conveyed in this film, where you see somebody went through it but rose above it, but still struggled with it. And we just want these young folks out here that are put in compromised situations, that they can be heard, that they can talk to somebody, they can speak out. And if we can get to one or two people or young folks that are going through this would be just a phenomenal success as far as I'm concerned with the film.
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
And this is Jason Ryan, the co-EP with Karen Peterkin at TV One, and I just wanted to add on top of what Russ said, one thing, and it's been touched on a lot, but one thing that we really wanted to make sure to do was just be, authentic, and also authentic and truthful in speaking on such dark topics. And the message that we really want to get out, in addition to what Russ was saying, was just to highlight the ability to, try to overcome from those types of negative experiences, in addition to bringing the awareness and giving people, comfort in speaking out against them, but also to show that, when you go through some type of trauma, there is a necessary healing process. And I think that, although there are a lot of dark topics in this, I think we were able to capture, some of the great moments between the siblings and their friends. And, as they were able to, create so much beauty as a result of so much hardship. And I think that that's another strong message that we want to get out to people through this movie.
Yeah, and this is Tyra. I'd like to say that the life of an artist is always complicated, and we as artists must always overcome the routine trials of life where we still are creating the art. And this family should be respected for the history they made while struggling in this human frailty, as we all do. And despite their feelings as human beings, they told our story and captivated our feelings and expressed our words in their music. And that was love, a lot of love. And so through all that pain, they still came up with this love and this talent. It's just overwhelming how much talent was in that family. And to add to what Russ said, one of the reasons why it's important to me is that children should be heard. When I was growing up in the South, they said children should be seen and not heard. Not in my house. And all children should be heard. When you're at a party with your child and she may be or he may be somewhere else, when they come to you and tug on you, I've seen parents say, "Can't you see I'm talking to this lady?" No, that person is grown and already into their world. You bend down, you look them in the eye, and you say, "What's going on?" Children should be heard at all times, and we should be careful with whom we leave our children with. I mean, they are the future, and I just can't tell you how painful this script was to me, but how important it is to our society. Like I said, the squeaky wheel. People know who to harm, but children should speak out at all times. That is the message here. Through all the pain.
Can I add, Tyra?
Yes.
I want to say this about the Edeline character that Tyra played.
Yes.
There's so many layers to this. On what she had to be. She had to be so many people and wear so many hats. And
yes.
She delivered on every layer of this character. And she'll capture you. I'm telling you, I look at the dailies, I look at stuff that we put together, and I'm just blown away because you don't know whether to be angry with her or feel sorry for her. You don't know, and that's how, we wanted it played. And she to fruition, and it was just an honor and a pleasure to be able to work with someone that was so easily able to navigate the layers of that character.
And let me add to that. Russ, I came in with one idea of the character, but dealing with a director who understands, my role is to hit my mark and to bring what I have. But thank you, Russ, for coming in with the deeper level and making me understand. Because, I always said if I didn't understand how she could, if I was Miss Baker in this role, I would have kicked him in the balls. You know what I'm saying? But I had to find a vulnerability and an understanding of a woman who was abused. And I thought of Tina Turner. I thought, here this talented woman was, Tina Turner, all that talent, and yet she was being abused. What makes a woman stay in an abused relationship? What makes a child? In one of the scenes with Rashawn, I was holding his hands when he was in that scene, dying, and I had so many emotions. I thought to myself, he was resenting me, but I wasn't the one who did it to you. Your dad did it, and you loved him. You wanted him. Why? Was the ugliness of what he did to you something that you held on to? I had so many questions, and yet I had to deal with to be vulnerable, to not be a victim, but to be a victim. There's so many layers, and I wanted to show her in a good light. I respect Edeline because of so many children she had, and because until you birth a baby, you have no idea. And to do that with 10, 12, I have a lot of respect for her, and I have a lot of compassion for her, and that's what it takes to play that role. And I don't know, like Lloyd, or I don't know what the outcome is. I'm hoping that, I just lived in the moment. As an actress, I deal in the moment. Everything is real in the moment. So I'm hoping and believing that all of these moments have come together, and I certainly enjoyed everyone in the film who I worked with. And I must say, the cast was wonderful, those that I worked with, but the crew was incredible, and they were accommodating, and it was just a very peaceful place to work. Everyone was on the same page, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Russ, for offering me the role.
Thank you, Tyra and Russ, so much for those comments. We're going to go to the next question. We still have a few more. We want to try to take everyone's question before we have to wrap here shortly. So we're going to go to the next question from Aaron Collins, I think, from Essential Life.
Yes, Collins, thank you. My question was, actually anybody can take it up. Was there any pressure to perform or live up to some of the other biopics that have come out in recent days?
Let's see. Let's have Roshan. Why don't you take that one?
Can you ask that question again? Sorry, I didn't get it.
Sure.
Okay.
Was there any pressure to live up to some of the other biopics that have recently come out?
Oh yeah, definitely a lot of pressure. That's something real. I mean, biopics are on fire right now, and there's not a lot of light-skinned biopics going down. So this is the one for me right here. I said, okay, so if I got to do this, we got to knock this one out the park for the light-skinned nation. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha, thank you.
Thank you, Roshan.
Okay, light
I
skin.
will say that if you watch Bohemian Rhapsody, if you watch that movie, Rashawn's performance reminds me of that.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Russ. Wow, man.
And walk the
right
line.
there. And I'll leave it up to the audience to judge that, but as a director to watch his performances, and I'm a performance-driven director, that's what it reminded me of, and hopefully you'll have the same feeling as I do.
Wow. Thanks, Russ.
I agree, Russ. It's Karen, and I would also say Walk the Line, a Johnny Cash biopic. Rashawn, you also brought that back to my mind.
That is beautiful. Well,
Nice.
I'm ready for the
Hey,
work.
Russ. Hey, Russ,
Yeah.
it's Lloyd. What would you say my acting was comparable to?
I think the jury is still out on Lloyd.
Oh, okay.
No, Lloyd was fantastic. Lloyd was like a sponge. Lloyd took everything in and put it right there on the film. And I'm very proud of his performance.
I actually believe that that Swirl and Russ, I think they kind of messing with me still because, again, what am I doing here? I mean, I think that they was like, you know what, if all else fails, people going to laugh at Lloyd trying to do this.
Nah,
so
shut up, Lloyd.
Not at all.
No way.
In there.
I'm serious.
Not at all.
If I thought that, I would have never moved the cameras.
The humility.
Lloyd, you should be proud. You will be proud of your performance.
You did your
I
thing,
will on
Lloyd.
Lloyd's behalf and on Russ's behalf. I'm going to let you know because Russ is such a great director. If he wasn't getting what he needed from Lloyd or any of us, he wasn't going to let us out of the scene. And I had to keep telling Lloyd that. He's like, was that good enough? I'm like, yo, if Russ didn't like it, he would have let you know, buddy. Like I said, we're going on to the next thing. That means it was great. All right? Trust me.
Yeah.
And I was there with Lloyd, and
I
promise you this. I promise you this. Within our scenes, from the first day to the end, you can just see his natural inclination and growth as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I promise Lloyd will be acting in plenty more projects. Believe that.
Oh, man.
I love this mutual admiration society. It's feeling good on this call. But let us go to the next question because we still have some people who want to talk to you all. So I'm going to take the next question from Magazine eMusic, Ashley Janae. Go ahead with your question, Ashley.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me on the call. I just wanted to quickly ask Roshan. I know you were talking about how you had a lot of fun with this film, but looking at the clips that were shared with us from this documentary, just seeing how you had to go to a place of in arguing with James and arguing with your mother in a couple of scenes and just going to that place of digging deep into that emotions and anger. And I just wanted to kind of just get your feel on how did you get to that place where you had to put the fun aside and really dig deep into those emotions?
Oh man, that's an interesting question. I mean, everybody's method is different. As an actor, you got to get to a certain place by any means necessary, and however that is for you. And for me personally, with this role with Bobby, I don't know. I really had to just, I guess, feel his pain. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, and I grew up in not the worst neighborhood, not the best neighborhood. It's still South Central, but I had a great upbringing. My parents, mom and dad, have been there for me, and lost a few friends, been through a few things, and I definitely had to draw from places of my pain and compare it to which is not anywhere as comparable what he went through, but I had to somehow figure out how to transcode and transform my pain into imagining what the hell he was feeling and how to portray that right. He must have been a completely different person after all these traumatic things that went down in his life, and I can only try my best to understand what that feels like. So it was really just feeling it, being a person, you know what I mean, and loving humans and humanity, and knowing damn, if I love something as much like music or acting or whatever it is, how would I actually feel going through all the stuff he went through? And I don't know how to explain it. It's very, very intricate and very interesting, but I just have to be one with Bobby, man. Just have to kind of let it happen on its own.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Roshan.
Thank you.
We have the next question from Cindy Davis of the Cindy Davis Show.
Thank you for having me. My name is Cindy Davis Evans. Just want to know, where was the movie filmed and why the location, and also how long were you in production?
Okay, so sounds like that is a question that James or Karen can possibly.
So we filmed the movie. This is James, by the way. We filmed the movie in Atlanta, Georgia. Reason being, just our production company is there. We like to take advantage of the tax credit, do a lot of movies with TV One. So as the production partner, we chose Atlanta. As far as how many days, we shot for 13. It ended up being a 14-day shoot, having to do some pickup scenes that we needed to do. So we ended up shooting a total of 14 days on the shoot. But originally, on the first part of the production, 13. Which obviously was rigorous on Rashawn, as he's in just about every single scene. So for everybody else, we had everybody, I think 3 or 4 traveled in. And what was the other part of the question? So that's the how many days we shot, and that's where we shot.
Yes, thank you very much. You answered it. Where and why and how long. Thank you.
All right,
right.
Perfect.
But
Thank
just
you so much.
To note, oh, sorry. Thank you, James, and thanks for the question. But just a note, Cindy, the locations depicted in the film are Detroit and Los Angeles.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And we will take the next question from the Diva Files, Cambria Harris.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can hear
Yes.
you. Go for your question. Thank you, Cambria.
Okay. My question is and anybody can answer. Was there a lesson that you learned from portraying these roles? And for those of you who are musical, was there anything that you gained musically from portraying the roles for artists who are just different from your norm?
I love that question so much. I think it should be the end question for everyone for this conference. And so we're going to begin that one with Roshan and go all the way through the cast and creative team. Thank you so much for that question. Roshan, go.
Okay, let me hear that question one more time.
Was there any lesson that you learned from portraying the role? And because you're musical, was there anything that you gained musically from the role?
Oh, yes. I learned a lot from this film, from this story, a lot. Born and raised in the business, it's a lot of demons you got to stay clear of. A lot of things you got to stay focused on. Keeping family first, family close. Not getting caught up in a lot of the riffraff that comes along with being, an artist. I think from this film, a lot of people are going to learn a lot of lessons on how to, deal with their own personal problems and family issues and things like that. What was the last end of the question you were saying?
Because you're musical, did you gain anything musically from portraying a role outside of your genre?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it kind of reinforced and re-embraced everything I've always been about. I've always been a do-it-yourself kind of artist and producer, writing and producing, mixing and mastering all my own stuff and releasing music and distributing it all my life. It really reinforced that, like, that still is the right way to do it as an artist. Seeing him write all these damn songs and make them from scratch and being in control of it, it really just inspired me to keep, rocking that myself.
Awesome. Thank you, Roshan. Let's go next to Big Boy. Lessons learned and any, takeaways musically.
I guess the biggest thing is, playing Barry Gordy is he took chances on talent, something that I can kind of, that parallels, my real life from signing Janelle Monáe, Killer Mike, and being in a successful group myself. It's okay to take chances, and when you take chances, you win big. But at the same time, there are those things in the way that can get you sidetracked, like drugs, and sex, and all other types of things like that. So you really got to stay focused. And I also learned that Barry Gordy can't wear Bobby DeBarge pants. I was kicking him out the motherfuckers on the last day of filming, but we made it work.
Thank you, Big Boy. We're going to go next to Tyra.
Okay. What did I learn? I was very grateful to my upbringing, meaning that my mom, you're never too paranoid or overprotected with your children. I was very grateful for my upbringing and knowing that you can't trust everyone. And also, God has a way of making you deal with your judgments. I judge a lot. Sometimes I try not to, but I always had a problem with black Republicans and black blondes. I didn't understand the blonde. And so when I put on that blonde wig or when I became a blonde, I understood something, and it is not to judge. I felt pretty in it. I understood some things about being a blonde that I don't really relate to in real life. So like everything else, every project I get involved with, I learn something. It's like in school days, I had to wear blue contact lenses, and I had to understand what did a dark-skinned wannabe want to wear blue contact lenses, and I had to go to the heart of it. So there are a lot of things. I'm always political in my judgments, and I always have a way of, these roles have a way of making me relax a little bit and understand until you walk in someone's shoes, you can't really judge them. And so I had a good time with that. And I just think it's a great project. And also, historically, this family, when I went to Jamaica once, Jamaicans knew our music. There were songs I had forgotten about. And so what I learned is that sometimes we need to go back to understand who we really are, because the music of the times tell us who we are. And so I learned a lot about the DeBarge family in their music and the times.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Blue, you're next. You're up. Lessons learned.
Yes, ma'am. Lessons learned. This is Blue Kimball. I don't, like you said, what did it have to do with music? I don't do music. But within, like I said, every production is a learning experience. No two productions are the same. So you always take something away different from this. Like I said, and it's always learning. I'm a sponge whenever I get to work with amazing talent and amazing people. Like I said, I've been with TV One and Swirl Films numerous of times, but this was my first with Russ Parr, my first with Roshan, my first with Marcel, Lloyd, etc. Miss Beautiful, my mother, Miss Tyrell. Now we're family now. And that's what you take away from productions. You become a family. We all have a bond. I'm going to be a DeBarge for life now because I represented this family to the fullest, and I'm able to tell this story to a whole new generation of millennials on down who don't know anything about the DeBarges and their story, their legacy, and that's what I'm taking from this, and I'm beyond grateful. And we wanted to make sure that we represented for all the movies and biopics like y'all spoke of that came before us, because biopics are the new wave of now. So the new additions and all that who set the tone, we just wanted to make sure that we were on level and on par with that. And I believe everybody's going to love what we did.
Thank you so much, Blue. And I'm just going to add, we did Mickey Howard's story before all that, so I'm just going to throw that out there. TV One was already on.
Exactly. Exactly. See?
We're going to go next to Adrian for, last thoughts, lessons learned, musical influence.
Oh, yes. I mean, number one, I learned set life. I learned, just how filming is done, and that was, I think, its own thing for me, its own lesson for me. But on top of that, playing the part of James, just having to learn how to sit in your issues or sit in your problems, and deal with them and take them head on. I'm someone who is kind of, it's easy for me to roll things off my shoulder and to act like it's no big thing, and usually it isn't. But to do this role and to play this part, there's a certain level of emotion and there's a certain level of acceptance in self that you have to do, and soul searching to go through those things that you aren't so good with, and maybe just you want to deal with. So I learned a lot about self in filming this, and just musically, at filming this at the time, I was working on my album that's out right now on all digital platforms. And I was going through some doubts and some issues because I know that today how music works is very different. It's social media driven, it's popularity and such. And I think back with Bobby and with the DeBarges, they were doing what they loved. They were doing what was coming natural. Even with Switch, they were doing what they felt. And I think that's why it stands this test of time. So for me, it just gave me a confidence during that time, and going back to that music and really sitting with it and listening to it and falling in love with it all over again, and just believing more in what I'm doing and what I feel and what I want to give, rather than what the social media and society is saying people want to hear. But more or less giving them what they can feel, music that they can relate to, music that they can love to. So I think it really just gave me that second reassurance, that real reassurance that I was on the right path and that I had to follow just who I am and what I do naturally. So.
Thank you so much, Adrian. And now we're going to go to Lloyd. Lloyd, lessons learned, musical influence.
Lessons learned. First lesson, I guess, how pain is such a big part of the process for progress. I guess how much how much psychological warfare affects the giants of life. How growing up, you idolize people, and then you learn that sometimes through idolizing them, you never really get to love them the right way. But once you learn about them, or you have a conversation with them or about them from someone who knows them, then you really, really learn to love them the right way. And how much compassion plays a big factor in the path towards healing from pain, from scars. How much I wish the DeBarges or Bobby DeBarge had that compassion in his life, because then maybe he would have conquered his demons a different kind of way. And that's big for me, being the first-time father, and during the making of this process, becoming a father again, and also not having my own, and how that affects me to this day. It's such a defining moment in my character and my drive and my greatness and my sadness, and how, just how that also affected him, and also how much inspiration there is in a great story. I mean, here I am able to be a part of a great man's story, and I'm so inspired moving forward as a musician. I can't wait to try to continue to introduce instrumentation into my own music, because I really think that it's nothing like someone who plays instruments and writes the music and produces the music and comes up with their own style, their own shape, their own wave. And to this day, as a musician, I know no other person who sounds like the DeBarges, who emulates Bobby DeBarge, who can really do it the way he did it. And I hope never really to, because it's okay to be a standout. And but that also means sometimes you are so isolated in your pain, and it's really amazing to have people around you that love you and that can help you. So, man, I learned so much. Also, being a first-time actor, I learned a lot about the process to telling a story, a great story, any great story that's on the television, on the screen, on an album, or on a piece of canvas. The process is the most beautiful part. I mean, seeing these people work, learning in the process was amazing.
Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you so much to all of the cast that have spoken today and participated. And now we want to go to Russ, our director, for a final word. And I want to make sure that we leave everyone with some key information in terms of TuneIn and social media. So, Russ, take it away.
Well, basically, I'd like to end it by saying that I think that this film is long overdue, and the fact that other people have mentioned the fact that there's a whole new generation going to be opened up to music that they've seen and they've heard and their parents grew up on. But there isn't always a silver lining, over every cloud. And we point out everything is not peaches and roses. Some people might see parts of this film as being dark, but I see it as a celebration. I think the darkness that happened in Bobby's life brings out the light for those who may be in the same situation, where it gives them the inspiration to move forward and to be able to speak out. At the end of the day, I just feel that this is one of those kind of films that if people will look at performances and things like that, but pay attention to the story. Pay attention to what this man went through and what he had to do every day just to survive mentally. All of them were affected dearly. And I'm just proud to be part of the project. I just really believe that everybody, some of the actors may have sound like, hey, man, I'm not sure if I delivered. No, you guys delivered. Trust me. And I just really think that at the end of the day, everyone will be able to embrace this film, whether you like it or not. I think there's a strong message there that will save some lives, period.
Amazing. So very well said, Russ. And I think the perfect note upon which to end today's call. Want to give the last word to our executives at TV One. Karen, Jason, does either one of you have any final thoughts that you want to share or leave our audience with today?
It's Karen, and I'll just jump in on the lessons learned, because I think that's always a great way to sort of evaluate a project coming off of it. Lessons learned for me were more so what was reconfirmed for me. I'm a storyteller, and I help people tell stories for a living. So what was reconfirmed for me was to stay committed to the story and protecting the integrity of the story. And I think that if you always keep that at the forefront of your mind when approaching any project from any angle, I think you'll always have your best product. Jason?
So very well said and very well done. Jason, was there a note from you?
Yeah, I'll just pick up on the lessons learned as well. And one thing that I would like to say, the lesson that I learned mostly is just the value of not only the arts, but the value of, channeling the negativity from your life and cultivating and developing your talent. And it was just really just amazing to, see how this story played out and see so many demons and so much negativity in the lives of all of these, the whole family. But the fact that they were able to channel that and create such beautiful, timeless art from it in the form of music, it really just showed me how, any of Bobby could have never made a song and nobody would fault him for that just because of all the trauma that he went through in his childhood. But the fact that he was able to channel all of that negativity into, creating such beautiful music and then inspiring his family to do the same, it just really helped to, solidify in my mind the value of, cultivating and developing your talent and the importance of art. And that was just one of the big takeaways that I got from this.
Thank you so much, Jason, and again to our entire creative team and cast. I wanted to note that in addition to our call today, we have several screenings coming up of the movie in Atlanta, Miami, D.C., and Los Angeles. We will be sharing with all members of the media information on these opportunities to both cover red carpet and see the film in its entirety on the large screen that are coming up this month. The film, again, will premiere on TV One Saturday, June 29th at 8 p.m., 7 Central, followed by an encore at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central. We can't do this without your help and support. You taking the time to join us on this call today, find out more about the movie,